every type of armed resistance against both the settlers and also the Israeli occupying force in the West Bank. Doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcasters like Wife.
Bro, this got linked in chat. This is like this is an unbelievable clip. What the f?
Like any kind of violence that Israeli settlers or the Israeli military experiences in the West Bank is literally legal, okay? It is legal resistance against an occupying military force. I cannot repeat this enough. Just like any kind of violence that the Israeli occupying force experiences in the Gaza Strip is actually, once again, totally legal and totally moral resistance.
That is insane to say when parts of the violence for October 7th related to the mass slaughter of civilians. And I mean, he'll deny any happened, I guess. But I mean, and also the sexual assault, but also just in definition, what he's saying, all violence is acceptable. That's not true. That is not true. You can't do that. That's not true. That's not justified under any international law anywhere. It's just not true.
By the Palestinians. Doesn't matter if they're the Al-Aqsa Brigade. Doesn't matter if they're a part of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Doesn't matter if they're...
Like, Al-Aqsa Brigades is the name. I don't know why he's not just saying Hamas. But Al-Aqsa Brigades is the military faction of Hamas. Palestinian Islamic Jihad was the other, like, governing entity there, I think, or party, I guess. The second largest from... No, wait. Hold on, wait. I just made that up. Wait, Al-Aqsa Brigades. Is this a new thing created to describe the people that did October 7th? Because they call October 7th. Don't they call that Al-Aqsa Flood? Isn't that the name that they gave it?
By the Palestinians. Doesn't matter if they're the Al-Aqsa Brigade. Doesn't matter if they're a part of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
Okay, yeah, so he's just explicitly referring to the October 7th attacks. He's just justifying, he's just saying that those attacks were moral, not just legal, which they weren't. He's also saying they were moral, which they weren't.
Doesn't matter if they're DFLP, PFLP, or even former Fatah militants.
DFLP and PFLP, these are considered terrorists by everyone. You remember when Bad Bunny got banned from Twitch? It's because she was wearing, it was either PFLP or DFLP bandana. What am I typing? She got permabanned for this. For supporting terrorism. I believe it was the PFLP that was hijacking planes, I think, like the following summer here or whatever. Black September to the Olympic attacks. Yeah, I think that was just done by the PLO though. But we just kind of forget that, okay? It was the PFLP, okay, did this plane hijacking. There was a while where Palestinians were just hijacking planes to fuck shit up. Yeah, but this is just a terrorist group, okay? Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, PFLP, and the DFLP, which I think is the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine. These are like super commie socialist groups. But like, Bad Bunny got banned, I think, just for wearing one of these bandanas. And so it's crazy to hear Hasan just openly support the groups. That's wild to me.
Okay, by the Palestinians. The occupying force experiences in the Gaza Strip is actually, once again, just like any kind of violence that the Israeli occupying force experiences in the Gaza Strip is actually, once again, totally legal and totally moral resistance by the Palestinians. Doesn't matter if they're the Al-Aqsa Brigade. Doesn't matter if they're a part of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Doesn't matter if they're DFLP, PFLP, or even former Fatah militants. Okay? It is perfectly legal, perfectly valid, and perfectly moral.
Like, none of those three things are true. Valid, I guess? Maybe, whatever the fuck valid means, but...
Okay? 100%. This is not like this is not a gray area. This is black and white. Okay? It doesn't get more black and white than this. Israel's in the wrong. Israel is actually engaging in an apartheid.
Israel is in the wrong. Israel is engaging in apartheid.
Which is a crime in and of itself.
Which is a crime. They believe that apartheid exists everywhere, right? Human Rights Watch, probably Amnesty International, everybody else says it's an apartheid all over Israel.
Doing a genocide in Gaza and an apartheid in the West Bank. Two crimes in and of itself.
He says a genocide in Gaza and he says an apartheid in the West Bank. But if you ask them, they will say, well, no, all of Israel is an apartheid state. They will say that every time. Guaranteed. Bet my life on it.
And every type of armed resistance against both the settlers and also the Israeli occupying force in
both the settlers and the Israeli occupying force. Okay, so every single citizen in Israel, besides Arabs and I think some sect of Judaism, some religious sect, used to be exempted from military service. I think that might have gotten overturned kind of recently.
In the West Bank, doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcast.
He says in the West Bank. They do extend this, right? We had the baby settlers thing. All of Israel is an occupying entity.
And also the Israeli occupying force in the West Bank. Doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcasters like Wife that participate in these raids. The violence that the Palestinians...
So I have no idea why you're calling out a U.S. citizen. Well, I do know why. There's this myth that's passed around that Hila was involved in like violent night terror raids against Palestinians in the West Bank because of a story that she told going on. I think it was some night raid or whatever, or some visiting some Palestinian thing in the West Bank or whatever. And the mythos that gets shot around in these weird pro-Pali communities is that she was like basically part of this like torture group, or they were just running around the West Bank and capturing people and killing them. And there's no evidence of any of that. Nobody's ever posited anything there that seems even remotely credible. This is just like the memes that they tell about Hila, kind of like the child cartoons or whatever. Is this some unhinged tirade? Is this unhinged tirade some sort of damage control because hardcore lefties got butthurt and now he's cranking up crazies to placate them? No, it is not. People keep spreading that rumor around because I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's fucking Dan or somebody else that digs up like old clips of Hasan to post or whatever. It's annoying because people don't know the timeline on this. But Hasan said this shit all on his own. This was fucking 4 days ago. I don't know why this is just getting posted now on LSF, but this came up 4 days ago, which I believe was before he gave that interview. I don't know why it's just getting posted now, but
engaging in an act of resistance against this illegal occupying force is literally legal, definitionally legal.
that is not true. No part of that statement is true. No part of that statement is true. Okay. Destiny, about the Hasan clip, would you concede that you could emotionally justify? Emotionally justify? You can emotionally justify anything, bro. What are you talking about? What a strange phrase. Targeting civilians if you grant that it's a genocide and apartheid. For example, most people would be fine if the Jews killed Nazi civilians during World War II. Since you're the one who keeps insisting that international law is meaningless in that region, the emotional argument is more relevant. No. You can't use the international law argument on me. That's your argument. Because Israel already accepts that it's not going to be treated fairly by any of the neighboring people that fight against them. So you can't go, oh, well, if you're saying that it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. International law is not applied to the enemies of Israel, period. It is never applied to their enemies. If it was, all of them would be considered rule breakers. The ICC did issue arrest warrants on the head of the Politburo for Hamas was it Ismail Haniyeh or whatever? He's dead, Rip Bozo. It was Sinwar, who got freed, I believe in 2014 in that Gilad Shaad, whatever the fuck that Jew's name, prisoner exchange, who was the leader of the Gaza Strip. He's dead, Rip Bozo, Sinwar. And then Mohammed Daif, I believe, was the leader of Al-Qassam brigades for the Hamas people, and he's dead, I believe, Rip Bozo, right? Those three. So all three, I think they issued arrest warrants for all three of those guys, right? They're all dead now. Rip! What? Why is it so quiet? Wait, I missed the rest of that. But also, I don't think people would be okay with Jews killing German civilians. I'm not sure if they would be. I mean, like, maybe they would be because, like, the Holocaust was so horrible. But I don't think that, I'm not aware of that ever happening. Did it? I'm not aware of that ever happening if it did.
Okay? It's just the truth. Straight up. It doesn't matter that they look to be in garb that makes you think that they're in the right. Okay?
And right now, life is...
Like, I don't understand how it's just so cucked that, like, we're at a time point now where the ground is so fertile for anti-Semitism in the United States because the left, the far left, and the far right are both totally on board with it. Now, you have your stalwart defense and the old boomer right, because they all love Israel. You kind of have this mid-left boomer defense of Israel, although the Palestinian stuff is weighing greatly on Jewish sympathies or sympathies for Jewish people. But I don't know, it's insane to me, this dog shit platform. I don't even give a fuck if, like, I don't give a fuck if Hasan gets banned or not. Like, I'm not here to censor people's political opinions, but, like, at the very least, somebody should be talking to me like, hey, bro, like, your shit is probably going to lead to people actually getting fucking killed in the United States, right? We've already had assassinations of Jewish people in the US for being Jewish. I don't understand why this type of shit is allowed to proliferate on this platform, just completely and totally unobstructed and fearlessly too. The thing that always irritates me with these people is like every time I was on Twitch, when I would say anything, I'm like, fuck, am I about to get banned? I gotta be careful on this. Oh, fuck. These guys are fucking fearless. It's actually fucking fearless that he could just like outwardly praise terrorist groups, outwardly praise terrorist actions, and then outwardly say that terrorism is justified for whatever XYZ reason on all Israeli citizens. That's just wild to me. At Destiny, you have records of the leaders of the Warsaw Ghetto Resistance directly speaking of how they don't want to attack Polish citizens in their raids out of the ghetto for weapons and supplies. Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, you also had Nelson Mandela and the ANC talking about how explicitly they didn't want to just start murdering civilians because it would make their movement look fucking horrible. And you have MLK, you know, saying that, like, we have to do active, like, nonviolent protests. And we have to have a commitment to nonviolence because it makes us look bad if you get violent. Like, yeah, every successful group in history has done this. One thing that's not talked about enough, and if we're going to bring race to this all the time, then I think maybe we need to take a good look at this. Hasan is from Turkey. Turkey is an ethno-state. Turkey was explicitly created in an ethno-state. The fall of the Ottoman Empire after 1917, when they began to genocide all of the Armenians and when they ethnically cleansed all the Greeks away, they did that with the explicit goal of creating their new ethno-state after the fall of the Ottoman Empire because they wanted their own country with their own ethnic group. And today they continue to engage in that sort of genocidal ethnic cleansing in intent against the Kurdish people in the southeast of the country. So I think the fact that you have a guy that comes from Turkey, which is a genocidal colonial state, they are currently engaged in that type of action. In the island of Cyprus to the south of Turkey, they're currently engaged in genocidal actions against the Kurds. Remember how they said, oh, when we abandoned the Kurds under Trump, we didn't abandon the Kurds to Assad. We didn't abandon the Kurds to ISIS. We abandoned the Kurds to Turkey to kill. Okay. And then it was like a million or more Greek citizens where ethnic cleansed were moved from Turkey because they didn't want to fucking deal with any of them. So I don't know, a guy that's coming from Turkey, whose uncle founded a network called the Young Turks, which was the name of the group that was largely responsible for the Armenian genocide, is really fucking weird to me. I don't know what kind of ethnic ground he can stand on to attack all Israelis or all Jewish people, mentioning the Hila Klein, who is an American citizen living in the United States of America, and then not have to address or reconcile with the genocidal history of his bloodline and his the country that his parents come from, which when I believe his dad is like a founding member of some far right political party. I think I don't know as much about that shit, but like that's crazy to me. And maybe it does need to be addressed more. That if we're going to bring up like the ethno bend or the ethno religious or the ethno nationalist tendencies of Israel, maybe more attention needs to be paid from where people like Hasan come from and what his ideology is. Because I've never heard him say shit about what Turkey has done in the past or what Turkey is currently doing right now. So I don't know. Maybe that's worth paying attention to, but Jesus Christ, these statements are fucking unhinged.